Hi, and welcome to our special AHA, Ask Heather Anything, where we're going to be discussing Thanksgiving. I'm Debbie, your host with Help for IBS, and we have Heather, the creator of Heather's Tummy Care. Hi, Heather, how are you?
Hello. Hi, Deb. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
Good.
Absolutely. Definitely getting ready
Good.
for the first holiday coming in, which
Yeah.
is Thanksgiving. And we're so excited to have you here today to share with us. You've been dealing with this for over 40 years and give us some wonderful knowledge on how to manage the IBS during Thanksgiving. Now, if
Yeah.
you're listening right now, this is live. This is your moment to ask Heather a question about your biggest frustration dealing with Thanksgiving. Get your question in now because we're going to go through them and answer them, and we want to make sure we can get to your question. So, Heather, I know you have a chapter in your book in regards to the holidays.
Yep.
So, I have a few questions here. You may answer some of them, but just off the dealing with the IBS, as long as you know that the Thanksgiving is right around the corner. What should somebody be doing to start getting themselves ready to enjoy Thanksgiving?
Ooh, good question. The more that you can plan for that, as with almost everything with IBS, the better. So figure out in advance, the big day, it's all about the meal when it comes to Thanksgiving. For some people, it's all about traveling to get there, but we can start with the meal because everybody wants that. They want a delicious Thanksgiving dinner. So who's in charge of that? Are you cooking? You got a lot more control if you do, but maybe some stress factor from all the work. Are you going to somebody else's house for Thanksgiving? You don't know what they're going to be making or how they're going to be making it, so that's very stressful as well. You may have to plan to bring some of your own dishes. So now's the time to kind of coordinate that in advance. If you're doing the cooking, plan an IBS-safe menu, across the board. No one else will know that they're eating special foods or that it's safe for you. They'll just think it's a fabulous Thanksgiving dinner. If you're going somewhere else and it's at all practical for you to take food, call the host. Ask what you can bring and make suggestions. Hey, can I bring a second batch of stuffing? Can I bring a pumpkin pie? Can I bring some dinner rolls? So that at a bare minimum, you've got at least a couple of safe foundation foods for your meal, and then you can add in whatever else you can eat that other people have made. But at least you're not, in the worst case, stuck there sitting at the meal that you can't eat anything. That'd be the worst.
Right.
So you want to avoid that. You don't want a Thanksgiving dinner you can't eat. And there's no reason that you should have that either. You should be able to have a fabulous meal along with everybody else.
Wonderful. Well, you said a lot of tidbits that goes a long way. I love that you just talked about, going to somebody else's house, because that seems to be the topic where people dread. Oh, no, I'm going to somebody else's house. We already have our AHA in regards to traveling, so pull that up and get a refresher if you forgot those details there. And I love what you just said about call the host up. What host doesn't want help on Thanksgiving?
Right.
That just doesn't happen. They want your help. So what a beautiful way to bring in, and I like what you suggested, the stuffing, the mashed potatoes. These are items that people are going to eat.
Yep.
Number
And you can
one.
never have too many of them.
No.
And a lot of times Thanksgiving is a little bit potluck anyways. People are used to having guests bring a dish here and there. So it's okay. You'll have extras. I mean, Thanksgiving is your big feast day, so it's not like you can have too much food on the table for that. So bring what you like, bring what you want, bring what you can eat. And if other people share it, fabulous. If they don't, so what? You still got a happy Thanksgiving meal for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
Don't.
Don't just accept that you're going to have to sit there and look at a table full of food you can't eat. You have control over that.
Wonderful. And that actually, you answered one of the questions that somebody already had chimed in. They do host majority of the time Thanksgiving at their home. And that's frustrating enough because it's like, I can't go anywhere because I need to be able to eat the safe food. So hopefully what you just recommended may help for the following years of how to get out of hosting the entire, because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and it's very stressful and that can cause its own problems. Yeah, so it can be a difficult holiday regardless, but there's ways that you can manage that regardless as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another question here. It is from Bridget. She chimed in. First, she's been following you, loves your information. She's very thankful for the IBS community. Yay. So she's, just grabbing some tools here. And Heather, she deals with IBSD. She also happens to struggle with some other problems in regards to gluten tolerant. And her question is in regards to soy. So not just because of IBS, but because of her other issues, it seems like when she's finding things to alternative, soy pops up, which is safe for IBS, but for her it doesn't. Do you have any recommendations for someone dealing with that?
Well, that's a really easy substitution because usually, unless it's some commercially made product, if you're making it yourself, soy is a really common dairy substitute. But there's a ton of other ones as well. So if you're allergic to soy or somebody's thyroid issues get in the way of soy consumption, go to oat milk, rice milk, almond milk, flax milk, hemp milk, really anything but coconut milk is a little too high fat for most things.
Okay.
But other than that, it is super easy to avoid soy milk or the other non-dairy replacements that are soy. There's a lot of other options out there. I think oat milk in particular is better for cooking with. It's a little heavier and thicker and creamier the way that soy milk is. Rice milk's a little watery. Almond milk, you might taste it in things where you might not want that almond flavor.
Right.
But whatever ones work for you that you like the taste of and that work for your cooking, they're all fine for IBS.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Great. So nice alternative.
Lots
know
of
your triggers. Know how you respond to things.
Yep.
And beautiful. Okay. Thanks for that answer.
Yeah.
And okay. So we talked about food for a little bit here until we get some new questions in. Let's go into the topic of being out in the workplace during Thanksgiving, because yes, Thanksgiving happens on the Thursday, but it's all that festivity in the workplace with food around. So we have a concern from one of our members here that talks about the problem that she has is that the people she works with just doesn't understand. They even make jokes about things that she can't eat. So when she's out and about, and with festivities, feeling very isolated. Do you have any words of wisdom?
I mean, well, first of all, her coworkers are jerks, so I would just like to get that out there. That's really terrible and it's unacceptable, and I'm really sorry that you're going through that, and that's wrong. They're wrong, just flat out wrong. That's really disgusting. That's a hard position to be in. A lot of times, if you have a good work environment and good coworkers, being candid about what you can and can't eat without really going into explicit, anatomical detail, can get you a lot more freedom. People tend to be understanding about that. And it may help to couch it as like, I have a gut disorder, I have some food intolerances, something a little bit more generic, but I really can't eat that way, or I can't eat this, and then just leave it at that. I mean, the people who are going to treat you poorly because of how you have to eat for your health are, people I'm going to have a really hard time showing a lot of respect to. That's really disrespectful of you and your health and your life and what you need for good health. Exactly. I guess if you're in that situation, probably the less that you talk to people like that, the better. They're not helping you. They're just actively hurting you. I would try to take as much control as you can. And again, if that means having any kind of say in what's being provided for foods or where you're going to go for a restaurant, if you can control that in the first place, you might have some safe menu options, and you're not really making any special requests if you're at the kind of restaurant that would make IBS-friendly meals in the first place. Other than that, that's a hard one. I mean, worst case scenario, if you're really stuck going out to eat with people who are going to be difficult and eating at a difficult place, you might want to bring some safe snacks to work and just kind of quietly eat enough to keep yourself full before you go to lunch. Right. And just consider lunch as the social event. Right. Order something small and indiscreet and, just pretend that you're eating it. And then eat more of your own safe food when you get back to the office.
So bottom line is your gut has the priority.
Yeah, you are the priority. Nobody's worth getting sick over.
Exactly.
That's not worth it. Your coworkers are not worth getting physically ill over and having them compromise your health and your life.
If that person happens to be working in a big corporation, I'm thinking HR department to have a conversation.
I would agree with that. If you have any type of levels like that where you can go to the person who's deciding on the menu, who's deciding on the restaurant, have a say in that. And if it is a big enough company that there's HR, put it in terms of, I have a health problem. I have a disorder that needs to be a little catered to here.
Right. Oh, good.
See if they help you. Hopefully they will.
Words of wisdom. Because again, it is a stressful time of year.
Yeah, and that would make it a million times worse.
So let's go
back
to food, because that's basically the highlight of Thanksgiving here in America.
Yeah.
So some great questions here. We have a new one that came in. I'll squeeze it in. Seasoning the turkey. Okay. Good question. What is your recommendation to be IBS friendly to season the turkey?
Oh, just about all seasonings are actually going to be IBS friendly. Herbs and spices are by their nature digestive aids. So any kind of seasoning that you like that's going to fall in the category of herbs and spices should be fine. With the turkey, really, with IBS, you're going to want to stick to white meat, skinless, no dark meat. So whatever the seasoning is on the skin, you're probably not going to get too much of it anyway. Yeah, I mean, inherently there's going to be a lot of fat running out of that turkey. If you can avoid maybe basting it with butter, that might help. Maybe try a little olive oil or something that's non-dairy. But really, I don't think the seasonings are going to have much of an impact. It's going to be more just avoiding the skin, avoiding the dark meat, and then really watching out for the gravy. The gravy's liquid fat, so just think of it that way.
Okay, so I'm thinking, if you're making the turkey, let's say they're making the turkey, and so they're seasoning the turkey, yes, basting it with its own juice, not excessive olive oil or whatnot.
Yeah, try to minimize the fat.
And realize that you're just trying to get a moist meat, because that the steam from that liquid is going to help get the meat moist, and you're just going to be eating the meat. You're not going to necessarily be eating that.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about that of more of mechanical of getting that turkey moist and using its own liquids, because it will. As we know, the turkey goes in the oven for quite a while, and get in there and baste it because it has its own juices. Better its natural juices than something added to it, right?
Yeah. And if there's specific seasoning she's asking about, if she wants to elaborate on the question, that might be helpful. She might be thinking of something that I'm not.
Yep. Yeah, it's just very, so, we got a couple people asking for the seasoning. So like sage, sage leaves, even if you take the skin and bring that the herbs under there, it makes a really pretty turkey.
And you get fresh sage. In fact, you can grow fresh sage in a lot of parts of the country. It's an evergreen herb. I walk through my neighborhood and there's literally sage plants everywhere. Fresh rosemary is going to be available this time of year, and again, that's something you can grow year round. Any of your fresh herbs, those are all going to be fine for seasoning the turkey. You're not going to be eating those whole herbs at the end of the day. And again, they literally are going to be digestive aids. There's active compounds in sage and rosemary and all of your fresh herbs and your dried spices that are digestive aids. So use them with abandon. You don't have to have bland food at all.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's go from the turkey to the gravy that you've mentioned, but we have a question here. Gravy. I make both broth-based gravy, so I can use it in replacement of butter. I use a plant-based butter substitute. It's also fat-friendly, but can it work? So she's questioning if the fat substitute, like she wants her gravy.
I'm
seeing she wants some gravy here. So if you are going to try to do an alternative gravy, is there such a thing? What would you recommend? Or is it just
there is. I mean, you could use like a fat-free broth. There's a really good brand is Better Than Bouillon. They're little glass jars of a kind of a bouillon paste, and they have a chicken. I think they have a turkey. They actually have a vegetarian chicken that is fantastic. So that's fat-free. That's something you could use as your base, or the other kind of broth. If she has her own broth she wants to use, that's fine. The plant-based margarines, like a non-hydrogenated margarine like Earth Balance or Spectrum, they're going to be better than butter in terms of they're dairy-free, but it's still high fat. So it's going to be quantity that gets you. So you might add a little bit of that fat for richness, but I would not use like a half fat, half flour roux to thicken it. I would drop the fat way down and use more either flour or cornstarch or whatever you want to use to thicken it. So like minimize the fat regardless. Yeah, arrowroot can work. Cornstarch works really well. The traditional white flour to thicken it. So whatever you want to use to thicken it in terms of the powder, that will be fine. That's not the issue. It's just the fat.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Someone's getting gravy.
And you can have more of it. That's the thing. If you have a lower fat gravy, you can have gravy over more of your food than if you have a real traditional pure fat gravy. You're going to have to really minimize that. So it might be better to have more gravy that you can eat safely than just a little tiny bit of gravy that would set you off.
So I love it. So go home and experiment. Make your not fat-free, but, the alternative.
Like a low fat.
Right. Bring it in a Tupperware. Bring it in a glass container and go, just call it special gravy.
I have special gravy. There you go. Microwave it, whisk it. It'll be fine.
Yes. I bet you people would be like, wait, can I have some of that? I'd be like, it's special
Oh,
gravy.
They will. It's the same thing if you bring your own other dishes. Oh, it's my family recipe. That's what I would tell people. I brought my family family recipe stuffing or my grandmother's mashed potatoes.
Right.
You don't have to tell them there's anything special about it beyond that. And then just, they'll love it.
The goal here is to have fun and enjoy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So being prepared and having what's good for your gut and working with it. Now I'm excited. I think I'm going to have to bring some, and I'm going to do a taste test.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I always bring my own stuffing.
Good deal. Well, we have another question here and this one's a great one as well. What tummy care products would help during Thanksgiving? So we're talking about food, but then again, these are things that we're used to doing daily. So is there anything different that we should be doing with our tummy care products on Thanksgiving or the day before?
Certainly not the time to stop using things that are helping you.
Note to self,
especially if you're traveling, don't let traveling interrupt your routine.
Okay.
So if you're using the tummy fiber, keep that up at least twice a day. Make sure you are taking that, the days before Thanksgiving morning. I would probably take your own tea with you to Thanksgiving. Take your own fennel or peppermint tea. I carry the peppermint capsules on me, and I take a couple before Thanksgiving dinner. Anything you can do preventatively at this point, have a safe breakfast so you're not starving by the time you get there. Have a low-fat, high-soluble fiber breakfast, have your tummy fiber, bring your own tea, have a peppermint cap before the meal. Bring enough tea that you can brew it and share it if other people are interested. And again, it's just my favorite personal herbal tea I wanted to bring with me. And make sure you're drinking that throughout the day. Right. So yes, stick to anything that is helping you, all the products you're using that are working for you. Now is the time to stay consistent with those. And in the aftermath as well, don't just stop after the Thanksgiving dinner. Carry through the rest of the night. Take your tummy fiber dose before you go to bed. Another one the next morning so that you make sure your gut stays stable in the aftermath of that big meal.
And I love after any meal, I've gotten into the habit of just enjoying the actual fennel because I tend to be a gassy person. And now it's like a joy. It's a pleasure. So keep that pleasure going. If you happen to be a gassy person, take that fennel tea. And you know what? I bet you there's other people out there that are not suffering from IBS that will be having gas that day. I'll just say it out loud.
Other folks might be happy to have some herbal tea after Thanksgiving. It's such a big dinner. They're all going to crash out on the sofa and watch football. So, give them some herbal tea and say, hey, this will help you feel a little bit better in the aftermath that meal.
Bring your pack of, your herbal tea with you, your whatever your favorite is. Mine's fennel happens to be. And because people, what do you do after a meal? Would you like some coffee? Hey, I would love some tea. That's
right. I would love some herbal tea instead. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not out of the, I love tea. Oh, see.
No, and other people will probably really enjoy that. So you might get known for, next Thanksgiving, hey, can you bring some more of that tea? I've had that request.
Seriously. And that's the whole thing is owning what's happening with your body, doing things that you enjoy. And guess what? When you do that, people are not that cruel, especially we're around family and loved ones during this time.
They should be happy.
Exactly. So I love that. So what I'm gathering so far is bringing the preparedness, bring some dishes. Yes. Oh, we just got a comment here. Yes, Karen, she loves the fennel tea after a meal too.
Or even during, you can have just, drink that during your Thanksgiving meal as well. And drink, eat slowly. Take your time. It's usually a long afternoon, evening meal, so don't rush it. That will help as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And just to reiterate on the peppermint pills, I know we've said it over and over and over and over, but until somebody actually is using it consistently and understanding how their body responds, about the peppermint pills prior half hour, 15 minutes, half hour before a meal, because they usually tell you, we're going to eat.
There's a lot of gray areas in that. That's the one thing. It's always on an empty stomach. Everybody has to take a peppermint capsule. Always on an empty stomach. Always as a preventative. It's going to work to head off problems. But then there's some divergence. If you are at all prone to heartburn or reflux, you want to take it on an empty stomach and wait an hour before you eat or drink anything. Okay. And you don't have to eat or drink anything afterwards. You could take one last thing at night before you go to bed. If you're not prone to heartburn at all, you could probably take it just a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes before the meal. Okay. So if you know you're not prone to heartburn, you might want to play around with the tummy tamers a little bit and see how you do taking one right before a meal. If you know you're kind of bulletproof with peppermint, you may be able to get away with taking 2 of them before a particularly heavy meal. If you're prone to heartburn, don't play with that. Okay. But if you're not, there's some gray areas of flexibility, and play around with them and see which works which way works best for you with the peppermint oil capsules. They can really help head off problems from high fat meals.
Yes, absolutely. And we
Yeah.
know there's going to be some fat around that day.
It's
So
gonna be a higher fat meal than what you're used to, regardless. So just plan for that.
great. So also, so good. People are asking questions about making sure they're taking the products at the specific time. Again, with the soluble fiber, that is also best to do on the empty stomach. So say you've had it in the morning, you had it for your breakfast. Usually Thanksgiving is a lunch or a dinner. So
Right.
if somebody's like, if it's out of their normal routine where they have their soluble fiber in the morning and they have their insoluble fiber at night, should they be doing something, of course, sprinkling some on?
You might want to bring bring travel packets with you and sprinkle some onto the table. If you're not comfortable with that, bring some with you and take a dose in the bathroom right before you eat. You don't have to have it on an empty stomach for it to work. The fiber will work regardless, but it does help buffer your gut's response to food. So taking it right before you eat can give you some extra benefits. The other thing that you can do if you have the tummy fiber is cook with it. So if you're bringing anything to that Thanksgiving meal, put the tummy fiber right in it. Stuffing, mashed potatoes, anything that's got any kind of moisture in it. In fact, God, you could whisk that into your gravy as well. It will actually emulsify. You can use the tummy fiber to emulsify. So that would be actively helpful in terms of emulsifying your gravy, not just getting you extra soluble fiber in there. Throw it in the pumpkin pie you're making for dessert. I mean, literally put it in everything you're bringing for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
No one else will know. It'll just give them better gut health.
It's fiber.
But it will give you an extra measure of safety for sure.
Absolutely. So that's I'm going to go to our last question right here, which was kind of up in the beginning, but I wanted to end strong because it actually is setting us up for next week. They want to know if they can have pumpkin pie. First of all, scroll through. We've got a recipe about Heather's a fabulous 5-minute pumpkin pie, but let's talk about the pumpkin pie.
That's a super easy one. Canned pumpkin, inherently, pumpkin is really high soluble fiber. Pretty much all of your gourds and squashes. Yeah, so you're starting off with a fantastic base. And pumpkin pie has maybe like 3 or 4 ingredients. It's one of the easiest pies. So you just substitute dairy milk for any of your non-dairy, your soy, your rice, your oat, or almond, whatever you want for the non-dairy milk. If there's any eggs in there, just substitute 2 egg whites for every whole egg. You don't have to worry about the seasonings, the vanilla, the spices. Keep those the same. Add whatever you want. Add extra tummy fiber to your pumpkin pie filling if you want. And then really the only thing you're watching out for is the crust. So if you want a traditional pie crust, it's always going to be high fat. It's going to be shortening or really traditionally lard or butter that you're, crumbling into that flour.
And be aware of those ready-made pie crust.
Also very high fat.
Yeah, keep your eye for avoidance of that. Okay.
Yeah. And if you want to use them, I wouldn't eat the whole pie crust.
Okay.
Maybe have just like the tip of it. That's the best part anyways, the little pointy part. And then just don't eat the rest of the crust. Eat the rest of your filling out of it. Or if you're making the whole pie yourself, you can make a safe graham cracker crust. Those are very fast and easy and safe because you can drop the fat way down. And then it will have a crust. It will look like a proper pie, but it won't have the high fat pastry crust.
So you can, again, we've got the recipe on our site here in our community, in our private community. Make up that pie and take it and call it your special pumpkin pie.
No one will have the faintest idea that it's not just a fantastic pumpkin pie. And for the other traditional ones, same thing. You could make an apple pie safely. If you like pecan pie, which can be a little higher fat because of the pecans, there's actually a safe version of a double-decker pumpkin and pecan pie in this book that I make every year for Thanksgiving. So there's lots of options for whatever you traditionally like to make for your desserts. I'm willing to bet you can make an IBS safe version of it.
Yes, ma'am. That's wonderful. And that we're just scratching the surface in regards to all the amazing recipes that actually Heather already has in her book, Eating for IBS. If you don't have it, we'll have the link in below. Again, scratching the surface of all the funness that you can do to enjoy IBS. Again, it's not about bland. So Karen popped in, like, what about turmeric and what about ginger? Yes, yes, yes.
They're all good. Karen, there's probably not an herb or spice out there that isn't an active digestive aid. The only exception would be things that have capsicum, which is hot. So chili peppers that have heat. Anything that doesn't have heat, that's just a regular herb and spice, cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, ginger, cloves, all of your savories, your oregano, your celery seed, your sage, your rosemary, your oregano, I say oregano, basil,
Yes.
marjoram, all of them, literally all of them are digestive aids. So use even more herbs and spices than you would traditionally use. It will up the flavor, and fat in foods carries flavor. So when you drop the amount of fat, you may have to emphasize the flavor in other ways, like your herbs and spices, or maybe extra vanilla extract if you're baking or desserts.
Love it. Love it. Great
Yeah.
tidbits there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, we thank you for asking questions, community, beforehand when we put the little like, hey, we're coming in for our AHA and the topic of it, and then able to answer live here. Heather, we appreciate your time, but most of all,
Oh, sure.
we appreciate all that you do for the IBS community. I
Oh.
mean, it's amazing. And fun facts, great way to enjoy Thanksgiving with
Yeah.
your family and loved
Yeah.
ones. Okay, what my takeaway is, ask the host what you can help her with. And when they
Yeah.
say nothing, say, how about some extra mashed potatoes?
Right.
How about,
Right.
let's see how
Right.
many of them
There's
say
never enough
yes.
stuffing.
There's never.
You
Oh,
can
I
always
know.
bring
I can't
extra
wait.
stuffing.
I
And
can't
people
wait.
like a variety of stuffing, so that's a good one too.
Yes. So we have some fun tricks here. Again, thank you, Heather, for sharing
Oh,
with us.
yeah.
And everybody out there, definitely get ready. Enjoy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. It's a time to
Yes.
be thankful for the things that we can
It is.
do.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, ma'am. All right, guys. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.